What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Joni Mitchell, as well as a Luca who is inconveniently placed on the floor here. But once again, shout out to Nicola, we're going back to Clouds, 1969, and the next track is Roses Blue, which has a bit of the Latin-style phrasing, meaning the adjective coming after the noun, as opposed to English where it typically precedes it, and presumably that's the case in most Germanic languages. I don't know that for a fact, but nevertheless, I expect there to be some significance personally, interpersonally, situationally, historically, in terms of someone's memory to these blue roses. Fair to say roses you typically think of as red. I suppose white roses are often a typical floral gift. Yellow roses exist. Blue roses, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like those are more artificially created. Perhaps they've created lineages of roses that are naturally growing blue, but even then I feel like there would have been some genetic engineering involved. Maybe I'm wrong about all of that, but as I said, it feels like maybe there's an artificial character to a blue rose that may, in the narrative in question, have some significance. Ultimately, her stories have so many twists and turns and fine little details that I expect there to be no way to consider the title in advance in any reasonably accurate way. So let's just hear it. This is Joni Mitchell. The track is Roses Blue, and it's from her 1969 album Clouds.
I think of tears, I think of rain on shingles. I think of rain, I think of roses blue. I think of Rose, my heart begins to tremble to see the place she's lately gotten to, gotten to, gotten to. She's gotten to mysterious devotions. She's gotten to the zodiac and Zen. She's gotten into tarot cards and potions. She's laying her religion on her friends, on her friends, on her friends. Friends who come to ask her for their future. Friends who come to find they can't be friends because of signs and seasons that don't suit her. She'll prophesy your death, she won't say when, won't say when, won't say when. When all the black cards come you cannot barter. No, when all your stars are stacked you cannot win. She'll shake her head and treat you like a martyr. It is her blackness spell, she puts you in, puts you in, puts you in. In sorrow she can lure you where she wants you. Inside your own self-pity there you swim. In sinking down to drown, her voice still haunts you. And only with your laughter can you win, can you win, can you win. You win the lasting rose with your laughter. It reaches like an arm before you sink. To win the solitary truth you're after, you dare not ask the priestess how to think.
try to unpack this. So, lyrically, at first we're talking about it makes her think of, rain and like other things that are colored blue, or at least, as popularly represented. So I'm thinking that there's a significance to that color and maybe tonal / emotional palette. But then there's a narrative that emerges where there's this woman who apparently is into tarot cards and a hint of astronomy, talking about the stars and, reading people's fortunes or future, but in a way that maybe makes her say to them, like, well, I guess I can't be your friend anymore. And it sounds like there's a bit of caprice on her part, a bit of, how she feels in a given moment is what she says about someone's fate or someone's, preternatural character. And so it sounds like she's a bit disagreeable or a bit negative toward other people. So I don't really know where it all comes together, but it sounds again like there's a coldness or a detached sort of nature of this woman being described, but she's also, casting her darkest spells, so not only, tarot and astrology, but maybe a suggestion of witchcraft, that there's some dark character to her persona, and that it is either driving people away or she's casting them away. But it also feels like there's a distinction between the perception that she has and the person who's describing her, which could be like an omniscient narrator. It doesn't sound like the person talking about this woman is a specific friend who was indeed driven away. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it sounds, again, more like omniscient narrator. But then there's the sonics, which has the typical acoustic guitar accompaniment that her tunes do, but the whole time there's like this tune within a tune, not necessarily like on a radio, but, someone playing a mandolin or something, like a little bit down the pathway, a little bit farther away. So it sounds like there's two different stories or two different perspectives on stories going along. And again, I don't know if it's a mandolin, but whatever that other sort of like plucked or strummed instrument was, it sounds a bit more energetic, a bit lighter and less wistful and melancholic as the acoustic guitar sounds. And then we get farther along and there's some real sort of forte moments with the acoustic guitar, and then like rhythmic doubling or even, tripling, quadrupling, and she goes into those repetitions which hit a bit more intensely and maybe speak to some aspect of the narrative, which I can't really place that. But yes, definitely some cool vocal moments from Joni as well, including that final extension, which at some point it was so long and reverberating that I wondered if it was like Frozen, where, she did do an extension, but then they took like the final moment of it and just replicated it. But given that this is late 60s, I feel like maybe that's less likely, and she really just did keep further iterations of the extension going right up until it faded out and ended. Nevertheless, there were some twists sonically and musically in the latter stages of the tune that took me a bit by surprise and were less normal guitar poet, singing into the wind like most of the tunes sounded, and like a lot of her tunes on these first two albums have. So yeah, again, curious to hear what people have to say about this one and the way the lyrics might speak to this curious woman who's being described as, again, maybe a bit mystical, but also a bit asocial, if not fully antisocial. So yeah, very curious about this one. Shout out again to Nicola for sharing, as well as Mark, who's commented on a number of the tracks so far, and anyone else who's enjoying this deep dive. Luca has been perfectly positioned to be a bit inconvenient the whole time, but she's not concerned. In any case, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.